What's up, everybody out there in internet land? It's your brother Moshe coming to you live from the man cave. We're going to title this one Another Recipe. I done put my foot in it again. You're going to love this one. Okay, first we're going to start off with a nice pork chop. I prefer the thick cut bone-in pork chops. I don't like the thin. They kind of cook too quickly for me. The marinade was, if I can remember the name of the company, Maui Mountain Teriyaki Marinade. Now, of course, I doctor it up a little bit. I don't know, I'm sure you can find it in other stores, but Walmart sells pre-made garlic paste in a tube, ginger paste. They even sell basil paste. And I will admit it tastes pretty good. Now, the garlic flavor isn't extremely prominent. I mean, it's there. If you make your own paste, which I've done before, you take garlic, some people will put it in the masher, in the grinder thing. I throw it in a food processor with just like a drop of olive oil. Usually add a little salt. Not too much, just a little bit. But I love this garlic paste. I mean, the garlic taste is there. If you want a very garlicky type of a flavor, you're going to have to use more than you normally would if you're using fresh garlic. But I've been a lot about easy nowadays. So I love the garlic paste. And I will say this, you got to check out some of those oak leaf wines from Walmart. I tried the Merlot, don't like it too much at all. The Cabernet is pretty damn good. I've only had the Cabernet is pretty good. I haven't tried any of their others. And then there's the other cheap wine in Walmart called Liberty Creek. This is the red blend. I had their Pinot Noir the other day. Very, very good. And I think the Liberty Creek is $6.98 for a big bottle, which is like 2 bottles of wine. And the Oak Leaf is $5.98 for a big bottle of wine. I mean, you really can't beat that price. Okay, so strawberry milk. Very milky, not too strawberry, but pretty good, and it complements again the wine very, very well. Now, start with that teriyaki sauce as the base. I added, it was about 3/4 of a cup. I could have went with a 1/2 cup teriyaki. I just wanted to make sure when I put it in the Ziploc bag that it would be really nice and covered. This is a fairly thick marinade too. I put in, what was it? 2 tablespoons of, not tablespoons, 2 teaspoons of ginger, 3 teaspoons of the garlic, the ginger and garlic paste. Stir it up, get it in there real nice, and then taste it. Everyone's taste buds are a little bit different. You might not like as much garlic. Ginger has a little bit of heat to it. Again, taste it as you're, a lot of people don't understand when people say, cooking with love. Cooking with love means as you're cooking, you're tasting it. It's missing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You add a dash of this, a dash of that. That's what cooking with love means. And for me, I think that white pepper is terrific. And I really enjoy white pepper with Oriental type dishes. Something about that taste of pepper go very, very well with Oriental type seasonings. Again, I would say Start off with half a teaspoon, something, or a quarter teaspoon, something very minimal, and just add a little bit because you can never take out. You can only add in. I'm telling you, this red blend is pretty damn good. So, then I added some fish sauce. I know. You open up fish sauce, it smells horrible, but it's just something about that with Oriental or Asian dishes. It just goes so very well with all the different types of seasonings that you're putting in it. And sesame oil. I only put in a teaspoon of fish sauce and a teaspoon of sesame oil. Again, it's to your likings, your taste buds. Sesame oil is very, very overpowering, so you have to be very, very careful with sesame oil. And that's pretty much it for the marinade. I wish I would have thought of this last night before I went to bed. I personally like to marinate meat at least 24 hours. It was a pretty thick marinade, so the pork chops came out pretty flavorful. And always take your meat out of the fridge. If you're marinating, take it out of the marinade, put it on a paper plate. I usually use Chinette. I know they're a little bit more expensive, but I find they're just the best paper plates that you're going to get. And I let them sit out. And just the excess marinade, I try to shake it off first, let it sit on the paper plate, turn it over. The paper plate soaks up just some of that marinade, just enough to get it dry, so you get a pretty decent sear when you're cooking at home. If I had a house and not a condo, and even if we were allowed to grill, I definitely would have cooked these on the grill. I think next time I'm going to add just a touch of smoked paprika to the marinade, just to give it a little bit of that smokiness that I'm looking for. So I have this, it's one of those red copper stovetop grills that you just put on top. I made a little bit of a mistake. I did not spray it down with non-stick. I've cooked steaks on there and they never ever stick. And I guess because of the teriyaki marinade, and it's a little on the sweet side, so it kind of stuck a little bit. I almost messed up the pork chop, but I rescued it. It came out pretty damn good anyway. They were thick pork chops. And again, well, not again, I didn't even say it the first time. You got to let your meat sit out and get to room temperature. And it prevents a lot of things from happening. It prevents it from curling up while you're cooking it. Some people, when they're making pork chops, if you're making thin pork chops, sometimes they do kind of come up on the end. I find if you let it get to room temperature first, and you let your pan get nice and hot, I say let it sit on a medium to medium high heat. I prefer medium, and let it sit for about 10 minutes before you throw that meat on there. And then I just fresh ground Himalayan pink salt and fresh ground triple peppercorn medley. Not much, just a little bit. I only added that because it kind of helps give it a little bit of a better sear, a little bit of a better char. And I cooked it to perfection. I had a little bit of the crunchy bits on the outside, on the edges. The pork was nice and juicy on the inside. Again, it's getting that sear, and you're searing in those juices. And always let whatever meat you've cooked rest for about a good, everyone's a little bit different. Some people say 5 minutes, some people say 8 minutes. I like to give it 10 minutes. Some people cook their pork to where it's just a little bit pink in the middle. I don't like that. And I always use bone-in pork chops. Again, I think they're juicier, they have more flavor. It's just, a lot of these things are subjective to each and every single person. And then what I did to top it all off was baby bella mushrooms. Again, get the pan up to temperature first. I let the mushrooms sit out for, again, let it get to room temperature. You ain't gonna get no diseases on it or nothing like that. It's not gonna happen. And a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I have two different types. I have really expensive extra virgin olive oil where I use for like dressings and little drizzles here and there, and then I have just some. It's good extra virgin olive oil, but it's in a big thing, and it's what I usually use to do brief sautés with. Let that get in the pan, let the oil get a little hot, throw in the sliced baby bella mushrooms, fresh ground Himalayan pink salt, triple peppercorn medley. Added just a little bit of butter. Let the mushrooms cook down a little bit first before you add the butter. Mushrooms have a certain amount of water in it, and you want to get a good saute. You want to let some of that water a chance to get off and evaporate. A little bit of butter. I don't know, you just eyeball it like a little tiny little slather. And a little bit of turmeric too. Not too much, just a little bit. Then some more garlic paste. Just a little bit of ginger paste. I just wanted a touch of ginger flavor. There was already plenty in the marinade, so I just wanted a little bit just to complement and make sure all the flavors went well. And in order to get some like fresh herbaceousness to kind of counterbalance everything, I have a rosemary grinder. Some fresh rosemary in there, and again, you have to be careful with rosemary. It can be a very overpowering flavor. And then a little bit of the red blend on top of the mushrooms. And the only thing the dish was kind of missing was a little bit of acidity. So I was thinking about it when I was doing the marinade. But I says, you know what? I'm not going to put any rice wine vinegar in the marinade. It would have thinned it out a little bit, and it probably would have really complemented the marinade very, very well. But I didn't do it this time, and instead what I did was, after I draped all the mushrooms and some of that sauce that was left over on the bottom, I just crumbled some what I took was like already crumbled feta cheese, and I just crumbled it up into a really fine, almost like a powder, just little bits. And then while it was still hot and everything was resting, just draped it over so the feta cheese got a little warm, a little melty. And I gotta tell you, and I had some leftover stovetop stuffing. Last time we went out shopping, I didn't pick up any fresh vegetables to put on the side. He loves Brussels sprouts or asparagus, so I think I'm gonna have to start keeping those in the house. But I gotta tell you, y'all. And again, it's your world, it's your kitchen, it's your palate, it's what you like. Hey, there it is. I've been really getting into the VPC mode on this Geek Vape. I get more vapor production and more flavor. You got to tinker around with it a little bit to figure it out, and each juice is different. But again, flavor, taste, spice it up a little bit. Start learning what kind of seasonings go well together. I like to eat good, and I like to really enjoy my food when I'm eating it. And I really don't like to go out that much to restaurants anymore. And number one, it's too damn expensive, and I much prefer cooking a nice home meal and sitting at home. I mean, for Christ's sake, you go out, a glass of wine, it'll run you about $9. And you're looking at, between two people, a decent meal, $50-$60. You can go a little bit cheaper or a little bit more, but who wants to waste that money? I personally like cooking. The last 2 days have been a little bit stressful in the house. It's kind of how I cope with stress. Cook, it's how I show love. So again, you got to give these recipes a try and just figure out what flavors go well with each other for you. And it takes time. You're going to screw up a couple of dishes. And then learning how to cook your meat. I'll do another little hint on how to cook meat to get it to where you like it. without using any sort of a temperature probe or anything like that. If you want exact, use a temperature probe. So with that being said, start cooking and put your dang foot in it. Love y'all. God bless.